Yeah, and I think we were all singing the same song basically during Dr. Black's testimony. We're like, why are you asking these questions? Why are you dragging this out? You're trying to demonstrate just how short this event was. And who was it? Ian, who said you're taking an hour to do it.
I have overruled the last objection, so go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Hernandez, you had indicated that you have provided with both the defense and the state with your full footage from the night of August 25th. Is that right?
Yes.
And you did that through an attorney from a law firm from Madison, correct?
Yes.
And that's an attorney whose firm is also providing services to the defendant in this case.
Today is the first time I'm hearing of this, so I don't have any bias because I just heard about this today.
After this incident, the shooting occurred on August 25th, 2020. You posted videos in support of the defendant after that, correct?
Can you repeat the date one more time?
After the shooting on August 25th, 2020, you posted on social media in support, didn't you?
Define support.
You posted videos that you felt would help his case by showing aggressive behavior on the part of Joseph Rosenbaum, for example.
I posted the same video that is evidence today.
And in that with that video, you made some disparaging remarks about Mr. Rosenbaum, didn't you?
What would you say is that?
Do you remember what you said?
I'd like to hear it.
So you don't remember what you said?
I have no idea. I post on Twitter many times a day. I posted many videos. If you could specify what exactly you're talking about, I could correctly answer you.
Oh my God, this feed.
The P word. He's going to say, if he says
They
it though.
permit lawyers to remind people that they're under oath. And it's happened a few times in the case here. It's not permitted. I don't think most judges do allow it. Of course, they're under oath.
He must have said,
so it's
remember
actually,
you're under oath.
It's actually a suggestion by the questioner.
Never a good look in front of a jury.
The witness is not being truthful. And you're welcome to argue that at the end of the trial, but don't use it as a preface to your questions, okay?
Have you ever posted anything on social media?
Yes.
In support of Kyle Rittenhouse?
One could argue yes.
You've also been watching this trial while it's been going on, correct?
Yes.
And when you've been testifying, you've been referring to the defendant by his first name, Kyle, correct?
Yes.
And you've been referring to the first person that he killed as Mr. Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Instead of Joe or Joseph, correct? Is that yes?
Yes.
Do you, as you sit here today, do you personally know the defendant?
No.
But yet you call him by his first name?
That's his legal name. What else am I supposed to call him?
Mr. Rittenhouse or the defendant?
Guys being too combative.
I do have a rule that is honored in the breach, as Chaucer wrote, that witnesses are to be addressed formally.
I can switch to the PBS.
So that there's no distinction between classes and races and that type of thing. Except I do permit an attorney representing the defendant to use a first name because that would be the normal mode of address.
They're conflating. He didn't do this in court. He did it in
I would tell you that
media.
throughout this trial and every other,
He's such a boomer.
people
He's
slip
like getting
into
that
calling
tweet he's
people by their
referring
first
to.
names, and if it's brought to my attention, then I discourage it or even stop it. But just so you know, it generally should be Mr. Rittenhouse and Mr. Rosenbaum. Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Sure, I'm going to switch
You
over.
testified that you observed Mr. Rittenhouse.
Next pause.
You made a hand gesture. You characterized him as trying to de-escalate the situation. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you wearing your body cam when that happened?
Yes.
Do you have footage of that?
Yes.
Have we seen that yet?
It's been submitted to you guys.
Right, but was it played when you testified?
No.
You also characterized, well,
Yep.
there was a video that was played
not gonna do that,
of the incident at the Ultimate gas station with Mr. Rosenbaum and the dumpster. Fair to say?
The flaming dumpster.
You were personally at that location when that all happened, correct?
Yes.
Was the defendant?
I cannot recall. I was not there. Or I can't
You were there.
recall he was there or not. Yes, I was
He
there.
wasn't.
You never saw him at that scene, correct?
No.
Kyle wasn't there for that.
You also mentioned that at one point you observed a fire at a mechanic shop. Do you remember where that was?
It was a couple blocks away from Sheraton. I don't remember exactly.
That was some tires
Yes.
that were on fire in the middle of that lot, correct?
Yes.
And you have no idea who started that fire?
No.
You're not here testifying that Mr. Rosenbaum started that fire?
No.
You're not here testifying that anyone else in this case started that fire, correct?
I have no idea who started that fire.
In the video that we played earlier, this is the video where you're walking down the street, you see the tipped over garbage can, the road, people lighting on fire, and then you start walking in the same direction as the defendant. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yes, Rosenbaum.
It was
Joseph Rosenbaum.
It was Rosenbaum furthest south on Sheridan, Mr. Rittenhouse, and then I don't know if you know this individual, there's a Richie McGinnis. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
And he was heading in that same direction between you and the defendant. Is that fair to say?
Yes, based upon the footage, yes.
And you're aware that there comes a time in the video that you made where the defendant starts to run. Do you remember that?
I didn't make any videos.
Recorded.
Yes.
Why?
There comes a time in the video you recorded in which you saw Mr. Rittenhouse start running. Is that fair to say?
After Joseph Rosenbaum was lighting a fire in the middle of the street, he had his face covered, and he stopped and started going towards car source 3, walking. And a couple seconds after, you see Kyle Rittenhouse walk past the frame with a fire extinguisher.
I don't think he's playing well. He's coming off
No,
way.
yeah.
The question I was
too,
asking you though,
way
sir,
too
is
hard to-
Before the break.
there comes a time after that
Mhm.
where in your video, Mr. Rittenhouse starts running towards that car source. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And Mr. McGinnis, who is between you and the defendant, also starts running.
Yes.
And you start running.
Yes.
Why?
Because the rioters were saying en route to car source, en route to car source, and someone yelled out either burn in hell or burn inside or burn it down. It's hard to make out. But they were clearly displaying riotous, arsonist behavior prior to that and covering riots all of 2020. I could tell something violent was about to happen.
Such as an arson or a fire?
Yes.
What else could possibly?
At the time, that's what I was thinking.
So you were mostly concerned about running to get there in time to cover what you thought was going to be a fire.
Yes.
Was your decision to start running based on you seeing the defendant start to run?
No.
So you just independently decided to run at that time?
I just told you, people were saying en route to car source. Someone said burn in hell, burn it down. And the prior nights, the rioters were burning down buildings in Kenosha.
The people that you quote as saying those things, they're walking down the middle of the road, weren't they?
Some were walking us.
The people that say those things don't start running at the same time you do they?
I couldn't tell who said it.
Did you, these people you're characterizing as arsonists, rioters, whatever language you're using,
Mhm.
were any of them running towards the 63rd car source?
Some were way ahead of me, in front of me, so I wouldn't be able to tell.
So you didn't know whether those people way ahead of you were running or not?
No, it'd be too far to tell.
So I know you said you started running. What other people around you were running at that very moment? If you know.
Richie was in front of me, so I think Richie McGinnis was the one that started running. And then while we started hearing all of the noise and people saying burn it down, that's when I started to go run towards the car source.
So one of the factors in your decision to start running was the fact that you saw Mr. McGinnis start to run.
Yes, one of the factors.
And you are, you post on Twitter, correct?
Yes.
And you have a Twitter name that is at Drew H Live. Is
Yes.
that right? And Drew H Live is your show that you have, or your website, correct?
Yes, on YouTube.
And you tweeted about this incident on the night of August 25th, didn't you?
Yes.
Shortly after everything happened.
Yes.
And you were
Never
talking
good.
about an armed citizen who opened fire on a rioter,
Yes.
right? And you characterized the rioters as planning to burn down the car dealership, correct?
Yes.
And it seems like you're suggesting then that the defendant he's the armed citizen that you're referring to, right?
Yes.
That he is, in your opinion, took necessary action to stop these rioters. That's what your tweet is basically suggesting, right?
At the time, it appeared that he was attempting to protect the local business from
So-
violent rioters that had already displayed that behavior 2 nights prior.
So this is an example, and this is, by the way, this is at 11:35 p.m. on August 25th, 2020. I know you said you're from Arizona. Is it possible that this was Arizona time, so 2 hours behind us? Because the shootings hadn't happened here until about 11:50 p.m. So I'm wondering if that's why there might be a time difference. Do you know?
No, I
predicted
posted
the
that.
shootings.
Are you referring to the video of the
That guy's
shooting
Minority
of
Report.
Mr. Rosenbaum?
That's part of it, yes.
Okay, yeah, I posted that specific video maybe about 20 minutes after it happened, the original video.
And by that time, you had made a conclusion in your own mind that what the defendant did was the right thing. Fair to say?
I would have to take a look at the specific tweets to remember what I was saying and why I was saying it.
This is the tweet from 11:35 p.m. on August 25th, 2020, which in Kenosha would have been before the shooting actually occurred. And you say, it appears an armed citizen was defending the car dealership and opened fire on the rioter who was attempting to vandalize or burn the dealership down. before the shooting took
Okay.
car dealership, end quote. Do you remember that tweet?
Yes.
And that was shortly after this all happened.
Yes.
So he's trying to argue that because a journalist had an interpretation of something at the time, that that's what happened, despite all of the video and testimony that they've
Now,
received
you
in
were
court?
also asked if you
Even though
had
his state of mind isn't at
observed
issue. It's
various
Kyle's state of mind
individuals
that's at
that
issue.
night, and you've told us about your observations of Joseph Rosenbaum. Fair?
Yes.
And have you showed us or talked about all of the observations or videos that you have with regard to Joseph Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Do you know if you have any that pertain to Gage Grosskreutz?
No.
No, I don't know, or no, I don't.
No, I don't know. It's a lot of footage. I would have to go through a lot of footage. He might run through a frame randomly. So that's what I would say.
Can we pull up Exhibit 152, please? And we're going to play this at the 1 minute and 51 second mark.
Okay, I'm going to switch over to the other stream here while we have a second.
Oh, all right, so they at least played this.
Pause. There is an individual who is crouching on the ground wearing a blue hat with what appears to be some white lettering on it. Do you see the person I'm talking about?
Yes.
Do you know who that is?
I do not right now off the top of my head.
Is there any disagreement that that's Gage Grosskreutz? And you were recording this because there's someone on the ground there that appears to be injured and is being treated by medics. Is that fair to say?
Yes, because they were rioting.
Okay.
Oh, come on. you need
Let's
to
go
stop
to
now.
exhibit number 153. Oh, Karen, are you okay? Do you need a tissue right now? Okay. Let's go to exhibit 153 at the 42nd
Do you need a
mark, please.
tissue?
Get out of here.
Please, come on.
Creep.
Do you, Binger? God, this guy's a slime ball. It just drives me nuts.
It's
The
disgusting.
pins affectation is really getting on my nerves because this is a murder trial, and every day he's showing off a new.
This
Like-
one's a Sherlock Holmes pin. Someone posted a zoom
Disgusting.
in of Twitter.
Is it?
Yeah. It's like you
But
shouldn't be
the
doing
judge-
that here, man.
The judge earlier that was wrong with that. To yell at him about the bias piece. The judge was really wrong in that.
True Trading Group says, you guys are awesome. Just join locals. Back to work. Have a great day.
Mr.
He said
Hernandez,
3
is
big
this
chats. Thank
video
you,
that
True
you
Trading
recorded
Group.
on your body cam?
Yes.
And did you see something that was being shown in your direction?
Yes, a laser.
Where was that coming from?
I have no idea.
You recorded this video maybe a lot or two away, a house property away from the 59th Street car source, didn't you?
Yes.
And that's a laser coming from someone who was up on the roof of that car source, right?
Yes.
And you're holding up your press badge because you're worried that someone who's pointing that laser at you is also at the same time pointing a gun at you, correct?
Yes.
Was Kyle on the roof?
And that made you
No?
fearful
This
for
is
your
irrelevant.
safety, didn't it?
The context of this is the rioters
This
had
shows
already
bias.
attempted to get into spark some kind of confrontation. That's what I testified to earlier. So
Sir,
then they
sir,
went behind this
sir.
building and started throwing rocks at the people on top of the building. Okay.
My question was
See,
very
he's not
simple.
answering questions. Yeah, he's biased.
When that person on the roof is shining
Yeah,
that
he's not
laser
playing
pointer
well,
at
I
you and
think.
you think that they're pointing a gun at you, that
No, he's got a
made
clear
you
bias, and
fear
that's
for
why we
your
don't call
safety,
this
didn't it?
guy. It's ridiculous.
You didn't answer that.
What did you say?
It's one thing that he's biased, but he just can't shut up about it.
Yeah.
Do you recall the
He
question?
thinks he's helping.
Yes, because I didn't want to
Yeah.
be misidentified as a rioter.
And you were fearful for your safety at that moment, weren't you?
I'm always fearful in the midst of riots.
Sir, at that moment, when that person on the roof is
Being
pointing a
invasive.
laser pointer at you and
It's
you
obvious.
think there's a gun pointed at
He's
you,
not helping.
you were fearful for your safety, weren't you?
Because I didn't want to get misidentified as a rioter.
Are you able to answer that question with a yes or a no?
I will say in fairness, I think the witness has answered it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has
He's
but it's
answered
a
it.
bad
Any other
answer.
questions?
Were you afraid
He's
of
answered
a
it, no.
rioters going to get shot? Are you
He-
afraid
Yeah,
the rioters
yeah,
around
he
here are
didn't
going to
play
get
great.
shot by
Exactly,
the
that's not a good
militia?
answer.
Do you
Yes,
believe
agreed.
that posting videos of what you saw was done to help Kyle?
No, because at the moment I posted all these videos on social media, I had no idea who Kyle Rittenhouse was or Joseph Rosenbaum the night of the riot.
And the purpose of posting the videos was what?
To report, I'm a journalist, I'm a reporter.
Mr. Bringer had showed you a picture of or a video of the green laser thing.
Mhm.
Any idea who did that?
I have no idea.
Nothing else.
You say
That was
you're a
good- that was good
journalist
plus.
and a reporter?
Yes,
Earlier, you identified yourself as a professional commentator.
all the above.
Is it your practice as a journalist to interject your personal opinion into the stories you're reporting on?
It's the name of commentary.
No.
But you did that here.
Where?
On August 25th, a few minutes after these shootings, you posted on Twitter your opinion as to whether the
Every
defendant in your
journalist
mind
does
was
that.
right or wrong
Yeah.
in doing what he did, correct?
No, I said apparently at the
But that's
beginning
just
of that
trying to trip him
statement.
up. See, that's why
What
he's
effect
just
does that
going
have?
with it.
It means apparently. It doesn't mean
I do
that
like that
this is
response.
100%
Yeah, I like that
my
response.
opinion.
You had already jumped to a conclusion, an apparent conclusion at that moment, right?
That's what apparently means.
That's not what journalists do, right?
Oh,
Where we're headed here.
I'll be done.
Yeah.
He got exactly, Binger got exactly what he wanted out of that.
You're not a
Yeah.
real journalist.
that's not.
You're
the
just this
market.
opinionated, biased person.
And you
You
edited
should have said
these
that's what all
videos.
journalists do.
You should, yes, you should have said that's
That's
what
what
all
all journalists
do. Yeah.
field journalists do.
All journalists.
They observe and they report on their observations.
Proceed.
Could have gone better.
Could have gone a
what
lot
do you think?
better.
I think this is a
They
bad
should have called
witness.
that witness. That witness is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that witness is
Yeah,
bullshit.
as soon as-
Why'd they call him?
As soon as he said today is the first I'm hearing of this law firm connection, so I don't have any bias.
Yeah.
He said the word
You should have said
bias.
bias. Yeah.
That puts the word bias in the jury's head.
Yeah.
I do wish
Next, the defense would like to call the
that all
flaming dumpster.
pictures that Nathan Brood viewed be published to the jury. I never did that when I moved them into evidence.
You'll have to give the numbers you want to show to the
Okay.
jury,
I can find that.
but you can do
So
that.
he said, looks like Black has prepared his report and emailed it to the clerk. The report that was requested, and they said after the court, has received that, they're done. So now we're going to move into rebuttal territory, I suppose.